WildStar adventures are boring. What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back. This is Force. Today we will be talking about, yes, as you guessed it, WildStar. As always, whenever I do these opinion pieces, I like to preface the video by saying, this is an opinion, so how you feel about it is going to vary depending on what you're looking for in a video game and your experiences with it. Now, based on my experiences, and I feel like what I'm looking for from WildStar, I have to say I've just been pretty disappointed with adventures. I don't even know if disappointed is the right word, because I don't know what I was expecting from them, but I just really have come to find that I don't enjoy them at all. I specifically will be honing in on the one adventure, the veteran adventure known as Malgrave Trail, and after doing it numerous times, it's just the biggest the biggest snore fest that bores me to tears every time I have to go through it. And there's a couple of things that I think I know why it is that way if I were to sort of try to quantify what it is about these things that I don't enjoy. So I'd like to just briefly touch on some of that here with you. The first thing I want to touch on is the length. Again, we're specifically talking about Malgrave Trail here. The other ones have varied, although it looks like over time they've been increasing the length. Like, you used to be able to do War in the Wilds very quickly, but they changed some things around about that, so you can't do it in 15 minutes anymore. It takes much longer now. But for Malgrave Trail, I would say the average run takes in the vicinity of 45 minutes to an hour. And, you know, that's in MMO terms, that's really not a lot. And trust me, I know. I've been, the other day I was grinding Skullcano in our very first run through of it, trying to learn all the encounters, and we were there for 3+ hours in one veteran dungeon. The difference between the two is that 3 hours of Skullcano is a challenge, it's a learning experience, and there is progression within that small instance. And I don't even just mean the instance in the sense that the dungeon is instance, but in that instance of time, in the process of going through Skullcano and learning everything, there is enjoyment to be had. Whereas with the adventures and with Malgrave Trail, it is just sort of, you're slogging along, and you're just there completing these sort of menial tasks that really aren't difficult. And I'm not saying I'm getting gold every time I go into Malgrave Trail. It's like, oh, if it was easy, you got gold every time. Just the idea that there's not a real challenge presented in the gameplay itself. It's more about there is RNG that happens. You're gonna have enemies spawn right on top of your camp. If first of all, if you don't know, what adventures are supposed to be is they're supposed to be a group PvE experience that is a little bit different, sort of like wild and zany compared to a traditional dungeon. That is what they said prior to release it in terms of what they want to do with adventures, and that's what they've done. This is group PvE content in which they're not taking the traditional dungeon route of here's some trash mobs that are tough, here's a boss fight that's even tougher. You've got to learn the mechanics of each of the trash packs, learn the mechanics of the boss fights, and then progress your way through trial and error until you complete them. When you get into these adventures, most of them are like a choose your own adventure style thing where you get to a checkpoint and you say, okay, I want to go to one of these 4 different locations, and then you go there and you do what needs to be done. You get to the next checkpoint. Okay, now out of these next 5, which one do I want to go to? Rinse and repeat. Now, Malgrave Trail, you're supposed to be escorting this caravan of I think it's like 30 characters or whatever from one end of the map to the other, and you know which way you go exactly is up to the group, but it just takes forever. They're very, very slow. There's a lot of randomness that's involved in some aspects of it, and again, if you don't protect all 30 at any time, there's a couple mechanics. Number one, NPCs will run up on your caravan and start attacking them, and if you don't pull them off in time, and someone dies, right there you're going to lose the ability to get the gold medal. There's a whole medal system attributed with the veteran adventures and dungeons, and most people are in there to get gold because the higher medal you get, the better loot that you're going to get as a result. Now we can boil that down to the fault of the group, right? If the group's not paying enough attention, the group of players is not paying enough attention to the caravan and they lose a member, well, that's their fault. And at the same time, you've got to collect supplies for them, and it's just sort of tedious and not really challenging. And I say that because when we get enemies to fight in the dungeons, what I've done so far in the veteran dungeons in WildStar, when you're fighting enemies there are different mechanics and telegraphs that you've got to learn to dodge, and they're challenging. Whereas it feels like in the adventures, the enemies don't really present that same level of challenge. They're just like basic enemies that you'd fight while leveling up in the overworld, but they're just they've got a crap ton of HP and they just take a bit longer to kill. So the actual act of playing while this is happening is just not as fun. It's not as engaging, and I think that's really my biggest problem with it. It's that we're sitting in this thing for an hour. We're just waiting for this caravan to slog along. The fights, the combat itself really isn't enjoyable because the combat itself isn't challenging. The challenge comes in trying to make sure all of the members of the caravan stay alive. And then we've got things like these little mini puzzles. And I don't mean to sound... I understand, like, they're trying to do things a little bit differently, and I certainly appreciate that. It's just in practice, I have not found it enjoyable. And maybe that's just me. Again, this is an opinion, right? So it could be different for you if you're watching this and you're like, this guy's an idiot. I love adventures. It's cool. It's different. And I agree. It is different. It's just that I personally don't find it cool. I personally don't find it enjoyable. I honestly much rather spend 3 hours trying to learn a new instance like I did the other day with Skullcano than spend an hour in Malgrave Trail, because those 3 hours for me are entertaining, whereas that single hour of waiting for this caravan to move and picking up it's just not fun. It just hasn't been fun for me. And I know I've been singling on this one, but really the truth is that the other adventures that I've tried, it's also sort of been a mediocre experience for me. War in the Wilds, I don't really enjoy doing that. I didn't enjoy the first adventure that you get experience at level 15. It's just, that's just my opinion. And again, if we were to pinpoint the issues for me, I would say the length. And not just the length because it takes an hour to do Malgrave Trail or however long it takes, but because that period of time is also really just not engaging and fun, or not as engaging and as fun as I find dungeons to be. So that is my opinion. That's what I think about. It. There's also a heavy element of RNG into some things. There's a lot of that in War of the Wilds, where you've got to worry about, I don't know, like which optional missions you're going to do if you're trying to get gold and all that stuff. I'd like to know what you guys think, though. How do you feel that adventures stack up to the dungeon experience at level 50, going through the veteran content? Which one do you enjoy more, and why? If you completely disagree with my assessment of adventures, please feel free to let me know. I'd love to read some of your opinions, the ones that aren't belligerent, at least. So thanks so much, guys. Hope you have a great day. I'm going to be playing some more WildStar within the next couple of weeks, so probably see some more videos from me. But that's going to do it for this one. So thanks so much for watching. Keep watching and keep owning.
They need to fix this animation.
Not much farther now. That road was long and treacherous.